The Constructicons are a group of fictional characters from the various Transformers continuities. Although they vary from depiction to depiction, they are usually Decepticons who turn into construction vehicles and combine into a larger robot, Devastator. For legal political reasons, Hasbro now adds a modifier to the character's name on newer toy packages, such as Constructicon Devastator. Transformers, Generation 1, the Constructicons, so named for their group job of design, engineering and construction for the Decepticon forces, are particularly notable for their status as the very first combining subgroup of Transformers, able to merge their bodies and minds together to form the gigantic Devastator. Members: the individual members of the team include, Scrapper a Euro, he transforms into a wheeled front-end loader. He forms the right leg of Devastator. He is the leader of the Constructicons even though he does not form Devastator's torso. He is a master designer who conceives the myriad structures the Constructicons assemble. Although he is genuinely modest about his work, he is prone to bragging amongst his fellow Constructicons. As indicated by a cut line from the original script of the Constructicons, Scrapper was originally to be named Gravedigger. Voiced by Michael Bell. Hook, he transforms into a mobile crane. He forms the head and upper torso of Devastator. He is the team's perfectionist second-in-command, who considers himself far too elite to deal with most of the ruffians that call themselves Decepticons. He is excellent at performing tasks which require extreme precision, but the time he takes to perfect his work and his arrogance are his weaknesses. Voiced by Neil Ross. Bone Crusher, he transforms into a bulldozer. He forms the left arm of Devastator. He is a brawler by nature and specializes in demolitions work. Under this vicious personality is an underlying motive. He is a perfectionist at heart and wishes to destroy all he deems imperfect, including the Autobots. He would enjoy the extra potential for destruction as Devastator if it did not mean sharing the same mind space as his fellow Constructicons. A different Bone Crusher was in the 2007 live-action version of Transformers. Voiced by Neil Ross. Scavenger, he transforms into an excavator. He forms the right arm of Devastator. He is an unashamedly pathetic Decepticon. Desperate to prove his worth to his teammates, he uses his one true gift, his shovel's ability to detect various magnetic, ionic, electrical or gas readings, to locate items of value, although all he can usually find is junk. Originally to be named Scrounge, this became a derogatory nickname for him from the other Constructicons and Decepticons. Voiced by Don Messick. Long Haul, he transforms into a dump truck. He forms the lower torso of Devastator. He is not fond of his role as transport, ferrying construction materials to and from on a Constructicon building site, and although he accepts its importance, he would much rather be a full-time warrior. In a children's coloring book, Longhaul is once mistakenly referred to by Scrapper's early name, Gravedigger. Voiced by Greg Berger. Mixmaster, he transforms into a concrete mixer truck. He forms the left leg of Devastator. He might have a few chips loose in his logic center, judging by the cackling with which he undertakes his role of materials fabrication. Although manic and erratic by nature, he is a genius of a chemist, able to mix chemicals in the drum of his concrete mixer alternate mode. He has also been known to insert solid objects such as cars into his mixing drum in order to turn out new building materials. Voiced by Frank Welker. Devastator, the team's combined form of Devastator is brutality in its purest form. His sole purpose is to destroy anything and everything that gets in his way. It is ironic that the suitably intelligent Constructicons should sacrifice their thinking ability in their combined form, but simple-mindedness is a common limitation of the assorted other first-generation combining Transformers, because Devastator's thoughts and actions are limited to what his 6 components can agree upon at any given time. Consequently, Devastator seems like a being of instinct, lashing out at everything around him before contemplating the consequences, but he is also slow and lumbering and very easy to trip up. It should also be noted that Devastator is composed of 6 individual robots, compared to most other combiner teams who had 5 components. The only contradiction to Devastator's lack of a display of intelligence is in the core, when his components' minds were temporarily controlled by the Autobots. He was able to detach the portion of himself made by Hook and complete a complex surgical procedure on Jazz. When the surgery was complete, Hook returned to Devastator's combined form as if the whole operation was performed by the Autobot-controlled Devastator. Marvel Comics. The origins of the Constructicons in Marvel Comics' Transformers series was not nearly so complicated. Seeking to bolster the size of his forces on Earth in 1985, Decepticon Commander Shockwave arranged for the construction of 6 new Decepticon bodies, which were then infused with life by the power of the creation matrix, tapped from the head of the imprisoned Optimus Prime. Thus, the Constructicons were born, and were immediately put to work building a massive radio transmission dish that Soundwave used to beam a message to Cybertron. When the Autobots attempted to interfere, the Constructicons revealed their hidden power and merged into Devastator to fight them off, allowing the message to successfully go through. The Autobots, intrigued by Devastator's unique combining power, attempting to replicate it with the construction of Omega Supreme. But Omega was composed of only 3 components, unlike the 6 Constructicons that made up Devastator. The Autobots conducted a raid on the Decepticon base, luring out Devastator so that they could gather data on him. This allowed them to accomplish the construction of the new Combiner team, the Aerialbots, capable of forming Superion, whom Devastator battled during the Transformers adventure alongside G.I. Joe. Although the United Kingdom's exclusive Transformers comic series shone the spotlight on the Constructicons when they were charged with hunting down Buster Witwicky, and again when the time-traveling Galvatron co-opted their services to build a gigantic laser cannon, the team's special talents were not required in the U.S. title again until they entered the Predac and stole large amounts of rocket fuel and raw materials, with which the Constructicons rebuilt the Decepticons' mobile island headquarters as a spaceship. With the entire Earth-based Decepticon army aboard the ship, under the command of Rashbat, they attacked an Autobot congregation on the Moon, and while the battle raged, the Constructicons penetrated the Ark and recovered the deactivated bodies of several Decepticons defeated in an earlier clash with Omega Supreme. Although the Constructicons did not appear again in the U.S. Transformers title, they were not among the Transformers deactivated by the underbase-empowered Starscream, and briefly appeared as part of the Autobot-Decepticon alliance, both in group shots and as part of their last stand against Axis forces. In the alternate future universe of 2008 featured in the UK Transformers comic, Mixmaster was briefly indicated to have ascended to leadership of the Constructicons. In 1990, the final year of the Transformers toy line in the US, an Action Master figure of Devastator was released, with a transforming partner named Scorpulator. 2 years later, in 1992, the Constructicons toys were re-released, now in a yellow, purple and grey color scheme, with no individual names for the individual toys and lacking the additional pieces that allowed their original releases to combine into Devastator. A story published in issue 264 of the UK's Transformers comic is often cited as an attempt to explain both releases, but since the new Constructicons would not be released for another 2 years, the only toy the story could actually be based upon would be the Action Master version of Devastator. In the story, it was revealed that the Constructicons had lost the ability to combine and were attempting to rebuild Devastator as a singular, separate entity. The Autobots Ironhide and Bumblebee arrived on the island to investigate, and Ironhide was able to bypass the security grid and plant explosives to destroy the site, and Devastator with it. When the Transformers Generation 2 toy line began a few years later, the Constructicons were again released in a yellow and purple color scheme, this time all over the world, and including the combining pieces. Rare orange and purple variants were also released and sold in Al Green stores. While these Constructicons were included with elements allowing them to form Devastator, various connection points and launchers were sealed and made inactive. Such changes made their transformations more difficult than their bright green predecessors. Despite Generation 2's usage of the yellow and orange Constructicons, a pair of construction green Decepticons were released in 1995. These two were called Auto Rollers. The auto-rollers were named Roadblock and Dirtbag, and due to their forms as green construction vehicles, both were considered by fans to be honorary Constructicons. Following the same logic, seeing as they are green construction vehicles with no other connection to the Constructicons whatsoever, some fans have declared Crush Bull and Mixing from the 1992 Japanese MicroMaster Combiner 6 Builder to be honorary Constructicons. The other four are not, though. They are the wrong color and so cannot possibly be honorary Constructicons. Animated series. According to the Autobot, Omega Supreme, millions of years ago, the Constructicons were the creators of the beautiful Crystal City on the Transformers' homeworld of Cybertron, which he was assigned the task of guarding. As a friend of the Constructicons, he was hurt the most when they were attacked by Megatron, who, seeking to bolster the forces of his then small army, subjected the Constructicons to the Robo-Smasher, a device which reprogrammed their minds and turned them into Decepticons. In their first act as Megatron's troops, the Constructicons lured Omega away from Crystal City and demolished it, enraging Omega, who pursued the Constructicons across the planet. Eventually, he succeeded in capturing them and apparently restored their programming to its original state, but as the group returned to rebuild Crystal City, Omega learned that Megatron's reprogramming could never be undone. The Constructicons were still Decepticons, and more than that, Megatron had given them a new power, the ability to combine their bodies and minds into the giant known as Devastator. In the ensuing struggle with Devastator, the Robo-Smasher attacked Omega's mind. He was able to stop it before the reprogramming was complete, only to wind up losing his emotions. Filled with only hatred for the Constructicons, Omega relentlessly pursued them, until they finally fled Cybertron in a spacecraft, which Omega chased across the galaxy. In 1984, the Constructicons were introduced and became the cartoon series' second Decepticon subgroup after Insecticons. The Constructicons joined with Megatron's forces on Earth, and their first mission was an impressive one. Scrappy designed a machine to transfer the other Decepticons' powers to Megatron, and while he battled Optimus Prime, holding the attention of the Autobots, the Constructicons invaded the Ark to destroy Teletron. Unfortunately for them, the Ark was protected by the Dinobots, but by merging into Devastator, they became more than a match for their prehistoric foes. The return of the other Autobots and the discovery of Megatron's deception spelled the end of the battle, however, as Hound distracted Devastator with a gigantic hologram, and Optimus Prime blasted the giant at just the right spot to force the Constructicons to disengage. They and the other Decepticons were then forced into a river of lava. The Constructicons survived the river of lava along with the other Decepticons and continued to assist in Megatron unregistered trademark S plans of conquest. In the year 2005, Devastator was the Decepticons' primary weapon in the Battle of Autobot City with the absence of Manaza and Bruticus, tearing through the defenses and walls of the city and battling the Dinobots once more. On the return trip to Cybertron, it was Bone Crusher who advocated the survival of the fittest policy that saw many wounded Decepticons ejected from the shuttle, among them Megatron, prompting Scrapper to nominate the Constructicons for the new leaders of the Decepticons. Hook took great offense to the notion that the unpopular Soundwave would make a better leader than they would, leading to a mass brawl to decide who would be Decepticon leader. Later, on Cybertron, the Constructicons were blowing trumpets during Starscream's coronation but were cut off due to Starscream's impatience. In the remainder of 2005 and throughout 2006, the Constructions maintained a smaller, but still present, role in the Decepticon army, lending their talents to the Decepticon Quintesson Alliance by constructing Triptychon out of a populated human city in only one night. Later, they built a planetary engine on an asteroid and battled on the planet Eurythma, aided in the overthrow of Paradron and took part in an attack on Japan. Although brief, the Constructicons even played a part in the battle for the Plasma Energy Chamber in 2007. The Constructicons' voices were performed by Michael Bell, Neil Ross, Greg Berger, Frank Welker, Don Messick and Arthur Burgart. The individual Constructicons are 6 of only 10 characters to have appeared in all 4 seasons of the Transformers animated series, and they would continue to make brief, token appearances throughout the Japanese exclusive Transformers, Headmasters series. Later, in the single episode of 1990's Japanese Transformers, Zone series, Devastator was among the 9 Decepticon generals assembled by the villainous Violinjija. The veteran Decepticon was almost immediately defeated in the series, entombed beneath the earth by a river of magma unleashed by Atlas. It's unclear if Devastator was killed or only incapacitated, due to fact that the Constructicons already survived magma's effects in Heavy Metal War. One of the most frequent animation errors concerning Devastator is that at some points he has a visor covering his eyes, at others the eyes themselves are visible. This was due to his full figure profile on the animation model sheet being drawn with eyes, while the close-up head profile showed the visor. Another inconsistency involves the color of Mixmaster's mixing drum, usually seen in purple on Devastator. This is due to toy models showing the drum as green on vehicular mode Mixmaster, but in a soft gray on a combined Devastator. Conflicting origins. The original Transformers animated series is infamous for its seeming slip-ups regarding the Constructicons, presenting contradictory stories that give different origins for the group. In their debut episode, the Season 1 finale, Heavy Metal War, Megatron professes that the Constructicons were built on Earth. Yet, in the Season 2 episode, The Secret of Omega Supreme, the secret history of the eponymous character and the Constructicons comes out, which reveals their past on Cybertron together, where the Constructicons were formerly not evil, though they still showed the Decepticon insignia, but were turned to evil by Megatron. Scrapper also makes a comment in The Master Builders that he admired the buildings of the Autobot grapple on Cybertron, indicating a past there. Interestingly, the official Bible to the series originally describes the Constructicons as having no explained origin. Presumably, this encouraged David Wise, the writer of The Secret of Omega Supreme, to give the characters an explained origin, unaware that it conflicted with the one-line reference to their being built on Earth from Heavy Metal War. Nevertheless, it is not impossible to reconcile these two stories, if one simply assumes that when Megatron said the Constructicons were built, he was referring to their new Earth bodies after their arrival from Cybertron. The third seeming contradiction emerges in the third season, with the episode 5 Faces of Darkness, Part 4, in which Rodimus Prime witnesses Megatron's creation in a flashback, and the animation shows the Constructicons surrounding him. However, later fiction reveals that there were many Constructicons on Cybertron, and the ones who made Megatron need not have been the ones who formed Devastator. Manga. In the Transformers manga number 5, Galvatron and his Decepticons attacked the Prime Energy Tower. Galvatron ordered the Decepticons to form Manaza, Devastator and Bruticus and attack. Rodimus Prime countered this move by ordering in Superion, Omega Supreme and Defensor. Galvatron then ordered in Predaking, knowing that Skylynx was elsewhere and could not counter them. Rodimus ordered the Omnibots to attack Predaking's legs. Tripping up the giant, he fell into the other Decepticon giants, winning the day for the Autobots. Fun Publications, Classic Verse, based on the Transformers Classics toy line, the Timeline's 2007 story is set 15 years after the end of the Marvel Comics story. Megatron survived the crash of the Ark on Earth, reformatted himself into a new form and now leads Ramjet, Skywhip, Soundwave, Starscream and the Constructicons. Optimus Prime has also returned to Earth commanding Bumblebee, Cliffhumper, Grimlock, Jetfire, Mirage and Rodimus. When the Cybertronians Skyfall and Landquake arrive on Earth unexpectedly, Megatron attempts to destroy them, but Optimus Prime and his Autobots are able to drive Megatron away. The Constructicons merged into Devastator to stop the Autobots from gaining an energy source the Decepticons were attempting to find, but were defeated by Grimlock. Wing of Honor, Devastator appears in a flash-forward by Fun Publications. In the year 2005, Devastator attacks Autobot City. He is opposed by Ultra Magnus, Sideswipe, Red Alert and Trax. Firing every weapon they have, the Autobots are able to force Devastator to break apart into the individual Constructicons. Now outnumbered, the Autobots retreated. Red Alert is killed covering the withdrawal, as Megatron watches. These events and others are related to Jaxis by Runabout and Run Amok in 2013. Dreamwave Productions, In Dreamwave Productions' 21st-century reimagining of the Generation 1 universe, it was revealed gradually that the Constructicons were responsible for pioneering the combining process through a series of experiments on themselves, thus creating Devastator. The plans to Devastator's combining process were eventually stolen by the Autobots and refined, resulting in Superior as a counter. This in turn led to more special teams being built by both sides. In the initial Transformers, the War Within series, the Constructicons were responsible for activating Cybertron's planetary engines, under the command of Megatron 8 million years ago. When Megatron disappeared into the depths of the planet fighting Optimus Prime, Starscream temporarily took command and had Scrapper prepare a process for the resurfacing of Cybertron, which would transform it into a mobile war world. Scrapper cautioned against such an action, but Starscream ignored him, and prevented him from stopping it when the process was underway. 1.5 million years later, when Megatron and Optimus Prime were thought to have died in an early test of the Space Bridge transport system, and the Autobots and Decepticons splintered into several smaller factions, the Constructicons broke the treaty that had downgraded the combining teams to non-combat status by siding with Rashbat's Ultracons and battling Defensor. The various War Within series showed that the Constructicons' alternate modes were the Cybertronian variants of their Earth designs. It is apparent that the Constructicons were not aboard the Ark when it crashed on Earth 4 million years ago, but they did eventually find their way to Earth and joined Megatron's forces there after they awoke in 1984. All the Transformers were rendered inactive in the explosion of the Ark II in 1999, but when they reactivated in 2001, Devastator was the main weapon in Megatron's attack on San Francisco. Rampaging through the city, he battled and defeated Superior, but was defeated by Optimus Prime through a point-blank blast to the face, which toppled the giant. His remains were recovered by the Earth Defense Command, and dissected and studied in their underground base. The ultimate fate of Devastator was not revealed, however, as a result of Dreamwave's closure. iBooks trilogy. The Constructicons also featured prominently in the iBooks trilogy set in the Dreamwave universe. Siding with Starscream after Megatron's disappearance, Devastator acted as Starscream's muscle, destroying Sideswipe at one point, and helping his new leader to take over Las Vegas. When Megatron returned, Devastator helped Starscream to force him into submission, but subsequent battles against the Keepers, a powerful race of aliens responsible for Megatron's disappearance, left the Constructicons unable to separate from their combined form. Eventually Devastator was taken out for good when Megatron's reprogrammed Omega Sentinel, turned good by exposure to the Matrix, sacrificed both itself and Devastator to close the Keeper's warp gate. Later, Devastator's body was found floating in space by the Humancer setting up the events seen in Dreamwave's Generation 1 ongoing series. Devil's Due Publishing. The Constructicons would also put in an appearance in the pages of Devil's Due Publishing's G.I. Joe vs. the Transformers crossover. They were seen as part of the force of Transformers under the control of the terrorist organization Cobra and were used for labor on the Cobra Island base. However, when they broke free they began to manufacture energon cubes for Megatron. When the Autobots and G.I. Joe attacked, the Constructicons merged to form Devastator and killed Hound. He was then mobbed and taken down by Wheeljack, Bumblebee and various members of G.I. Joe. Unlike many of the other Transformers, the Constructicons were not reformatted into Cobra vehicles. IDW Publishing. After Dreamwave's bankruptcy, IDW Publishing was awarded the Transformers comic book license. In their rebooted Generation 1 universe, the Constructicons would first be seen in the Transformers, Megatron Origin prequel miniseries. Set long before the Transformers arrived on Earth, they possess Cybertronian modes very similar to the designs used in the War Within series. The Constructicons are tasked with building the gladiatorial stadiums in which Megatron and others battle. According to the Transformers Spotlight issue featuring Optimus Prime, the only Transformers gestalt is currently Monstructor, meaning the Constructicons cannot combine into Devastator at this point. Spotlight Ramjet introduced the mini-Constructicons, robotic bubble-headed helpers to Ramjet in the colors of the actual Constructicons. These had become infected by human radio transmissions, causing them to talk like rappers. 2 were killed by Ramjet after they asked for a reward. Ramjet also talked of micro-Constructicons, nanobots that would be used to subjugate Earth by injection into human bloodstreams, but Ramjet was killed by Megatron before this could go any further. The Constructicons eventually joined Megatron on Earth, during the full-scale Decepticon invasion of the planet. They now possessed the power to combine into Devastator, most likely acquired due to the Decepticons getting their hands on Monstructor. They were put in charge of building the new Decepticon Citadel in the heart of New York. Eventually, their leader Scrapper is killed by Spike Witwicky on Earth. However, the remaining Constructicons later revealed that they were still able to use Scrapper's corpse to combine into a complete Devastator, though he is unable to walk due to his right leg being completely unusable. The 5 survivors live until after the war's conclusion but are later killed in peacetime by Prowl on Cybertron as criminals. Toys: Generation 1 Combiner Devastator, the combined form of the 6 Constructicons. Based on Diaclone toys. Generation 1 Action Master Devastator with Scorpulator, a non-transforming toy with a Target Master partner. In 1990, the final year of the Transformers toy line in the US, an Action Master figure of Devastator was released, with a transforming partner named Scorpulator. 2 years later, in 1992, the Constructicons toys were re-released, now in a yellow, purple and grey color scheme, with no individual names for the individual toys and lacking the additional pieces that allowed their original releases to combine into Devastator. Generation 2 Yellow Devastator, redecos of the original toys in yellow for Generation 2. Generation 2 Orange Devastator, redecos of the original toys in orange for Generation 2. Classics Constructicon Devastator, a Walmart store exclusive gift set. A redeco of Energon Constructicon Maximus with the familiar green and purple G1 colors. This toy was voted the 46th top toy released in the last 10 years by Toy Fair magazine. Transformers, Robots in Disguise, the 2001 series, Transformers, Robots in Disguise, featured the build team of Euro 4 Autobot construction vehicles that could combine to form Landfill. Their toys would later be recolored as the G1 Constructicons. Animated series, as the engineers who built the global Bridge tunnel system that transports the Autobots around Earth, the build team always wanted to see action on the front lines, and thanks to Optimus Prime, they got their chance. It is hard to imagine that personalities like the powerful Heavy Load, the alert, seasoned Hightower and the calm, rational Grimlock could be led by such a young hothead as Wedge, but his compassion and caring for his teammates mean that they respect and stick by him. The team is capable of combining into Landfill in various configurations. Landfill is the 12-meter-tall super robot formed of the 4 members of the build team. Thanks to his unique tornado fusion system, he can optimize his configuration for any combat situation. Landfill has 3 different modes, each in which Wedge remains at the center while the other 3 members rotate around his hub. The Hurricane mode, in which Grimlock forms the back and arms, is a superb multi-purpose type formation, balancing offense and defense with a shield and rifle. The Cyclone mode, with Hightower in the upper body, is a power type form excelling in close quarters combat, wielding a melee shovel and shield. And the Typhoon mode, with Heavy Load in the topmost position, is his battle type formation, which has high offensive power, with a rifle and shovel. Apparently, at some unknown point in time after the events of the animated series, the build team members were reformatted into Constructicons and aligned with the Decepticons. In addition, their combined form, Landfill, now under Decepticon control, has become reformatted into a new form, Constructicon Devastator. 3 Hours Enterprises, 2004 voice actor play plot. Rhinox has built a device to deflect Unicron's attempts to pull victims from other dimensions with his tractor beam. The Autobots deflect 2 attempts and the victims end up on a frozen planetoid instead of with Unicron. Maximals Rattrap and Silverbolt and the Predacon Waspinator are sent to help the victims, but Reptilian, Sunstorm, Ruination and Perceptor are sent to get them for Unicron. As a side effect of the device Rhinox built, a vortex opens which sucks in an Autobot shuttle from the past piloted by Bumblebee, Trax and Cosmos. Thrust attacks the Maximal ship, but they are saved by being transported to the Autobot shuttle. The Autobots and Maximals then go to the planet where they save the victims from the Decepticons. On the planet are two groups of Autobots. One is from the Robots in Disguise story, with Landfill, Sideburn and Prowl. The other is from another parallel world with Spy Changer Optimus Prime, Ultra Magnus, Prowl and Ironhide. They all fight off the Decepticons. The Autobot shuttle is sent back to its own time. Toys, Robots in Disguise Landfill, with an official height of 12 meters and in the toy standing 20 centimeters tall, that makes the scale of Landfill 160. Landfill was also repainted in green and purple as a Decepticon called Devastator in the Universe line, a homage to Generation 1 Devastator. Robots in Disguise Landfill Redeco, Landfill was reissued in yellow as a Walmart exclusive 4-pack. The yellow Walmart exclusive redecot of Landfill is considered by some fans to be an unofficial member of the Transformer Universe line. It was the final toy released under the Robots in Disguise label before the line was changed into Transformers Universe, and it is the form Landfill took when he appeared in the Universe story. Universe Devastator, released under the group name of the Constructicons once again, the team's combined form was named Constructicon Devastator. In addition, a redeco of the Build Team, a quartet of construction vehicles from the Transformers, Robots in Disguise series, was released in 2006 in the form of two Target-exclusive 2-packs, namely Bone Crusher Scavenger and Long-Haul Hightower. These four also have the ability to combine into Devastator, and the change of Hook to Hightower is consistent with this release as well. With this set, Hightower retains his name, while his teammates Wedge, Heavy Load, and Grimlock become Bone Crusher, Long Haul, and Scavenger. The MicroMaster Constructicons were initially a KB store exclusive, but later on were found in other online stores. This version of Devastator has never appeared in any official media. Transformers, Armada, Devastator, originally the Japanese name of Devastator, was the Japanese for Scavenger in Transformers, Armada. In addition to being named after one of the G1 Constructicons, he sported their familiar green and purple color scheme. The most striking difference between Scavenger and his G1 counterpart was the fact that, even though he was thought to be a Decepticon at first, he was later revealed to be an Autobot and was spying on the Decepticons when he first arrived on Earth. Transformers, Energon, in Transformers, Energon, a combining team of 5 robots similar to the Constructicons exists, who form the giant robot known as Constructicon Maximus. The animated series does not refer to any of the components by name. In it, only the central body is intelligent, and the limbs are drones. The 5 robots transform only from vehicle mode into combined mode, never into their individual robot forms. Members, the team consists of Steamhammer, the leader of the team who forms the central body of Constructicon Maximus. His toy's bio presents him as dark and stoic, with a primary function in communication and espionage, a job that he performs well due to his ability to jam transmissions and his talent for breaking codes. Although he is a powerful warrior who can literally flatten his enemies in his excavator alternate mode, he actually prefers to avoid getting involved in combat. Steamhammer's toy bio is ignored for the animated series. Bone Crusher, Scoop Loader, Duststorm, Crane, Sledge, Scoop Loader, Wideload, Crane, animated series. Constructicon Maximus was one of 4 combining Transformers sealed away in stasis beneath the surface of Cybertron to guard a hidden reservoir of Super Energon. Megatron, guided by Unicron, set out to search for it, and destroyed one of the immobile robots in his rage, only for the reservoir to then reveal itself. As the Guardians awakened, Megatron immersed himself in the Super Energon to upgrade himself into Galvatron, and Constructicon Maximus and Bruticus Maximus immediately swore fealty to Galvatron as the one who had awoken them. However, their brother, Superior Maximus, refused, recognizing Galvatron's evil and siding with the Autobots. Constructicon Maximus added plenty of firepower to the Decepticons' side, and he and Bruticus Maximus had several clashes with the traitorous Superior Maximus, until the time for their final battle came, set against the backdrop of the struggle to stop the Unicron-possessed Galvatron out in space. Constructicon Maximus was deactivated by Superior Maximus, who then had his limbs destroyed by Bruticus Maximus, but transferred Constructicon Maximus's limbs to himself and used them to defeat Bruticus, along with a little help from the ghost of the brother Megatron had destroyed. Constructicon Maximus was voiced by Don Brown. Toys. The name Steamhammer was later recycled as the name of a Minicon in Transformers Cybertron. Also, another homage to the original Constructicons was seen when Demolisher was reformatted into a new form by Megatron. His new alternate mode was that of a massive dump truck colored dark green. The molds of Constructicon Maximus have been reissued as a Walmart-exclusive gift set sometime late 2006/2007 under the Classics line. The combined form has been named Constructicon Devastator for trademark reasons, and the individual names are Duststorm, Wideload, Bone Crusher, Sledge, Dive Bomb and Steamhammer. It has a bright green and purple deco similar to the original G1 Constructicons. Transformers Animated. The Constructicons appear in the Transformers Animated. Composed of Mixmaster and Scrapper, and Dirt Boss, they are construction vehicles brought to life by AllSpark fragments. Unlike the classic versions, the Constructions do not combine and are not official Decepticons at first, though bribed into their service. Prior to becoming official Decepticons, they have yellow and black color schemes like the Generation 2 Constructicons. Once branded, they gain a green and purple color scheme. Their personalities resemble that of New York construction workers, complete with Brooklyn accents. The monster that appears in the episode Nature Calls was possibly a tribute to Devastator. In some episodes we see some construction vehicles and mining vehicles colored green and purple like the classic Constructicons. Members. Dirt Boss transforms into a forklift. He was created when an AllSpark fragment fused a forklift and Headmaster unit together after they fell down the tower. He was soon discovered by Bulkhead and the Constructicons, and quickly establishes himself as the Constructicons' boss, although he was ironically the last one to be created. He is able to control other Transformers by firing a special screw into their heads, a remnant of his Headmaster origin. Unlike the other two Constructicons, he began life as a Decepticon, and does not have the laid-back, oil-obsessed mentality of the other two Constructicons. Mixmaster transforms into a futuristic cross between a bulldozer and cement mixer. He got his name after Scrapper told him his mixing barrel had the words Mixmaster. He has the ability to spray acid from his stomach, a smoke screen from the mixing barrel on his back, and cement and acid from the miniature mixing barrels in his hands. Scrapper transforms into a futuristic excavator. He got his name after reading a sign that read Scrap, but Mixmaster told him that it was too short so it was changed to Scrapper. He has the ability to activate drill weapons, located in his hands. Unlike his G1 counterpart, Scrapper does not lead the Constructicons, but he is the only known surviving one. Devastator does not appear in the show, but is mentioned in the AllSpark Almaniac, when it is revealed by Dirt Boss that he is planning on building something called Devastator. Animated series. In their first appearance, Rise of the Constructicons, the Constructicons initially befriend Bulkhead, but decide to join the Decepticons because they have better tasting oil. After getting the AllSpark from the Autobots, as ordered, a still friendly Bulkhead gives them some oil for the road. However, it turns out to be a trick. It was laced with an explosive. After the explosion, which seems to not have affected them physically, they loses their memories and run away. They return in Sari, no one's home, following a trail of oil spilled by Bumblebee to the Autobots' base, thinking it where the good oil is. They are eventually scared off by Sari, and run into Blitzwing, who offers them Decepticon oil, and tells them there's more where that came from. Tasting it, Mixmaster tells Scrapper that they've found the delicious oil I've been searching for. In the A Bridge Too Close to Patter, the Constructicons recite the Decepticon Oath of Allegiance, and are branded with the Decepticon symbol. When the Decepticon base starts to collapse, the Constructicons stay behind, in an attempt to save their oil supply and end up being buried under tons of rock for their troubles. In Three's A Crowd, Bulkhead accidentally created another Constructicon called Dirt Boss from an Allspark fragment, a forklift, and a damaged headmaster unit while repairing a space bridge. Dirt Boss got into Decepticon business and led the other Constructicons into stealing the oil supply. However, the Autobots stopped them and sent them to the coast of Dinnerbot Island. In the episode Human Error Part 2 we see Scrapper on Dinnerbot Island. He befriends the Dinnerbot Snarl. Scrapper was the only Constructicon who survived the explosion. The fates of Dirt Boss and Mixmaster have been left unknown. In the Allspark Almaniac, which acts like a Season 4 since the series was cancelled after Season 3, it is revealed that Dirt Boss and Mixmaster survived and find Scrapper. Dirt Boss tells Scrapper and Mixmaster that he has planned to build something called Devastator. Transformers, Universe. A redeco of Generation 1 Six-Builder was released in 2004 done as a homage to Generation 1 Devastator. In 1992, a combining Autobot Transformer named Six-Builder was released exclusively in Japan, composed of 6 Autobot Micromasters, who, by coincidence or design, shared alternate modes with the 6 original Constructicons. When this figure was reissued in 2003, a Chase Distron variant was available in a green and purple color scheme intended to evoke the Constructicons. Eventually, the individual components were released in the USA in 2004 as part of the multi-universe spanning Transformers Universe toy line, exclusively available from KB Toy stores, with improved paint applications to even closer match the original Constructicons colors. In Europe, the Micromaster Constructicons were released in Energon rather than in Universe packaging. The members included, Buckethead, Quickmix, Hightower, Scavenger, Bone Crusher, Long Haul. As Hasbro had lost the rights to the names Scrapper, Mixmaster and Hook, the above substitutions were applied, respectively. While Buckethead is a new Transformers name, Quickmix was the name of a 1988 Autobot concrete mixer, and Hightower the name of a 2001 Autobot crane. The individual pieces required to combine the figures together can be linked together to form a jet that the figures can pilot. Toys, Generation 1 Six-Builder, the 6 members of Six-Builder members can package together. Generation 1 Six-Builder Redeco, a redeco of the original mold. Generation 1 Six-Builder Redeco, a redeco of Mixing in Green as a Decepticon. Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen. In the 2007 live-action film, Devastator appears as an individual character that transforms into a heavily modified M1 Abrams tank. Although the character was supposed to be named Brawl and he goes by that name in the merchandising, the Decepticon clearly identifies himself as Devastator in an on-screen subtitle. Movie writers Roberto Orsi and Hasbro's Transformers team acknowledge this is an error. When queried, director Michael Bay has stated that he has always preferred Devastator, as it sounded more destructive and dangerous for a Decepticon. The second Transformers film, Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen featured the Constructicons and their combined form. The name Devastator was previously used in the first film incorrectly for the Decepticon Brawl, and Bone Crusher was also featured. Both characters were killed. Unlike previous incarnations of the team, the Constructicon team features a vast amount of members like the Seacons in Masterforce. As a result, Devastator is composed of any Constructicon models that are present among the group, rather than having only one set in fiction composition. In 2007, USA Today polled people as to which Transformer they want to appear in the next Transformers film. Devastator came in tied for second with Grimlock. On the Transformers website, it was confirmed that several new Decepticons would form Devastator in the 2009 sequel Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, as well that he would have powerful upper body strength, similar to a gorilla, and have the ability to widen his mouth, creating a powerful turbine that sucks anything in like a wood chipper. Nothing is currently known of any effort to reconcile the naming disparities between the two Devastators, though the tank in the 2007 film is officially dubbed Brawl. There were conflicting reports as to the number and name of the Constructicons who will form Devastator. due to Demolisher and Scavenger being of the same model. However, the movie reveals that Devastator can be formed by a member from each of the 8 Constructicon models in a present area. Unlike the red eyes of most Decepticons, Devastator has green eyes. He is also shown to have turrets on his arms and missile launchers on his shoulders which he uses to try to destroy Mudflap. Like in previous incarnations, Devastator's intelligence is much less than the other Decepticons due to the need for all the Constructicons making up Devastator having to agree on a thought or action. This results in Devastator being personified as a savage beast with Megatron as his master. Devastator would stand about 120 feet tall if erect, but due to his large upper body mass, he is unable to stand upright. This restricts his movement to walking on all 4 limbs. When climbing the pyramid, his awkward form required his use of several grappling hooks so that he would not lose his footing. Members, the Constructicons featured in Revenge of the Fallen are, Scavenger, the Red T-Rexo and KRH-400 hydraulic mining excavator of the same model as Demolisher. He forms Devastator's torso. Longhaul, a green Caterpillar 773B dump truck, which forms the right leg. Longhaul's individual robot mode was designed by freelance artist Josh Nizai as fan art of the original character Longhaul. The fan art impressed Bay enough to hire him onto the film. Rampage, a yellow Caterpillar D90 bulldozer who forms the left foot. Bumblebee faces a red version of Rampage, credited as Skipjack. Scrapper, a yellow Caterpillar 992G scoop loader who forms the right arm. Hightower, transforms into a yellow Cobalco CKE 2502 crawler crane and forms the left arm. Mixmaster, who transforms into a black and silver Mack Metroliner concrete mixer. He forms the head. Overload, a red Komatsu HD 465-7 articulated dump truck that forms the torso with Scavenger. Scrap Metal, transforms into a yellow Volvo EC700C crawler excavator with a Stanley UP45SV universal processor attachment, is seen on the freighter along with Longhaul, Mixmaster and Skipjack. He joins them as they dive to the bottom of the sea and is torn apart so that Scalpel can use his parts to bring Megatron back to life. His robot form looks like Scrapper. There are 2 other Constructicons seen in the movie who are not acknowledged in any other media. They are a yellow Caterpillar D90 bulldozer bearing model M930 that forms the left wrist and hand combining with Hightower and a yellow Caterpillar 769D dump truck that forms the left leg with Rampage. Mixmaster, Scavenger, Overload and others are presumably destroyed as Devastator in the battle. Other versions of Longhaul, Scrapper, Mixmaster and Rampage are seen separate from Devastator, presumably to serve as the Decepticon military forces. They are killed by the military, Bumblebee and Jetfire. Reception: Wired magazine named Devastator and the Constructions one of the reasons to go see Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen. Devastator was picked as the 52nd coolest movie robot by Matt Patches of UGO.com. IGN described the appearance of Devastator's wrecking balls as one of the worst moments of the Transformers movies. Movie plot: Devastator is formed by the merger of several Constructicon vehicles in Egypt initiated by Scavenger. Once formed, he begins to suck up all of the structures and vehicles within the construction site in an attempt to destroy Mudflap and Skids. Mudflap is then sucked into Devastator's mouth, but he manages to break free by blasting a hole in the side of his face. Shortly after Devastator defeats the Autobot twins, Megatron commands him to climb the pyramid concealing the Sun Harvester. Once at the top, Devastator exposes the Sun Harvester but is hit by an experimental ship-mounted railgun round that was called in by former Sector 7 agent Simmons. The shot shatters Devastator, destroying him. A Decepticon who closely resembles Longhaul has a minor role in Transformers, Dark of the Moon, transforming into a waste management truck, and Longhaul himself makes an ever-so-brief appearance in Chicago. Eager has also been confirmed as being composed of the head of a Longhaul clone in Revenge of the Fallen. Scrapper appears in the battle in Chicago as well. Video games: Scrapper and Mixmaster names returned again for 2 transformable battle droids in Transformers, the game. Scrapper becomes a forklift and Mixmaster remains a cement mixer truck. All this because of the results from the poll for Name the Transformers from official game website. Hook is thought to be one of the droids in that game that turns into a tow truck. Bone Crusher is not a droid or a playable character, but is in the game and film. Overload, a Constructicon in Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, is not a playable character but is a Decepticon droid that turns into a van. Longhaul and Devastator appear in the Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen video game. Other media, Devastator is one of the Decepticons featured in Transformers, the ride at Universal Studios theme parks. In the ride, Devastator uses his turbine mouth to suck in and shred the Autobot Evac, but Evac escapes by engaging his shields and shooting himself through Devastator's head. Toys, Revenge of the Fallen Supreme Constructicon Devastator. This toy is set of the Constructicon vehicles that combine to form Devastator. While the vehicles form Devastator's body parts, they do not have individual robot modes due to the complexity of the robot's design. The six-pack comes with Scavenger, Mixmaster, Longhaul, Rampage, Hightower and Scrapper. His head can turn into a vortex with light-up eyes, in order to emulate the construction site scene. Devastator also emits sound effects as well. Notably, this set does not come with a seventh Constructicon known as Overload. Priced at $99 and 99 cents per or £99 and 99 pennies at the time of release, this surpasses Bumblebee and G1 Fortress Maximus as the most expensive Transformers toy sold by Hasbro. The Japanese released version features red paint applications on Devastator's face, which matches his on-screen appearance. Revenge of the Fallen Legends Constructicon Devastator. This set also includes Overload, who forms the back of Devastator. Unlike the larger Supreme Class version, the individual Constructicons in this set can transform into their robot modes. In Japan, the Constructicons are sold individually. Transformers Legends Constructicon Devastator, a Japan exclusive redeco of the movie Legends Devastator in green-purple colors inspired by the Generation 1 version of the character. Revenge of the Fallen Burger King Constructicon Devastator, sold with Burger King's BK Kids meals. This is Devastator's main body with combining Constructicon arms and legs, Scrapper, Rampage, Longhaul and Hightower. Revenge of the Fallen Mega Power Bots Constructicon Devastator, a large, non-transforming action figure for younger children. Features numerous light and sound effects. Because he has wheels on his limbs, Devastator can lie face first, giving the appearance of 5 construction vehicles lined up together. Revenge of the Fallen Robot Heroes Desert Devastation, a cartoonish pack of non-transforming action figures. The pack also includes Mudflap, Autobot Skids and Captain William Lennox. Transformers Legends Constructicon Devastator, a Toys R Us exclusive release of the G1 Redeco version of the Legends gift set, which was previously sold exclusively in Japan. Transformers, Power Core Combiners. In the 2010 Transformers, Power Core Combiners toy line, the Decepticons Steam Hammer leads a Constructicon team, which consists of 4 construction vehicle drones. These drones can combine with Steam Hammer to become a larger robot by forming his limbs. Toys, Power Core Combiners Steam Hammer with Constructicons, a new mold. Comes with 4 drone construction vehicles, all of which combine with Steam Hammer to form a larger robot. Transformers, Prime, Devastator is the combined version of the Constructicons. His size makes him the ultimate weapons for the Decepticons. Books, Devastator appears in the novel Transformers, Exodus where he fights Defensor. He appears to be based on the Revenge of the Fallen version of Devastator, in that there can be more than one Devastator in one battlefield. KREO, Transformers, Reception. The WTF at TFW podcast for April 19, 2012 selected KREO Devastator as one of the new picture picks. Animated series, Devastator appeared in the animated short Quest for Energon. References. External links, Constructicons Toy Bin Gallery.